here are the materials that you'll need for your basket weaving. You need some coiling core, which is this white stuff that looks like a rope, a yarn needle, you'll get one plastic yarn needle, and some yarn. The perfect length to cut your yarn is a wingspan long, or from fingertip to fingertip. I will help you begin your basket in class, but if you are starting on your own, you take your length of yarn and hold it against the core coming off the end about a thumb length long. Then you start wrapping it around and around and around, covering up the yarn you've placed on the coiling core. Keep wrapping it until it covers what will be a thumb's length long and doesn't show hardly any or no white space at all. Once you have it a thumb length long, fold it in half, and this will be the center of your basket. Then you need to wrap the yarn around both pieces several times as tight as you can get it, because you don't want that to pop loose or your basket will fall apart. Wrap a little extra around as well, like 5 or 6 times around, and then you're ready to put the needle on and start weaving the basket. When you put the needle on, tie it on there however you'd like to. I like to make a loop and then pull the tail through the loop. Now you are ready to begin the weaving process. Your first step is to poke the needle through the hole. Poke it through and always pull it really tight after you poke it. Then hold the thread or the yarn close, cross it over, wrap it around the top, cross back over. Repeat all of that again. Poke through the hole, pull it really tight, grab the yarn close, cross over, wrap it around the white, cross back over, repeat again. Poke, pull tight, cross, wrap it around the white piece, cross, poke, pull tight. Make sure you cover up any white that might be showing. Try to place your yarn in a nice, neat little row. So I've poked it, cross, wrap around the white piece, cross back over. Everything looks lined up really nicely. Then poke, pull, cross, wrap, cross, poke, cross, wrap, cross, poke, and so on. When you run out of one yarn, you simply get a new piece of yarn and tie it on. Here's an easy way to do it. Match up the two pieces, make a loop, pull the tails through the loop, and pull it tight. Test it to make sure it's going to stay by pulling tight, and if it is, then you're ready to trim it a little bit. Don't trim it too close or your project might fall apart. Tie your needle on in the same way. Put it through the eye of the needle and then make a loop and pull the tail through the loop. Now that I've switched colors, you should be able to see the process a little easier too. Also in the background, there's a couple sheets of paper that outline the process step by step, or with some images I'll go over in just a minute. It's a lot easier for any of these steps if you hold it with the core pointing towards you. Then you can see the shapes better. So poke it through, pull it tight, cross, wrap, cross, repeat. Poke it through, pull it tight, cross, wrap it around the top, cross back over. Now that the yarn is pink, you can also kind of see a ribbon shape. Some people like to think of it that way. Poke, pull it tight, make a ribbon shape. So there's half the ribbon, the top of the ribbon, and the other half of the ribbon. You can also think of it as the number 8. So here would be the middle of the 8, the top of the 8, back to the middle of the 8, And then to get the bottom of the 8, you poke it through. It all depends what's the easiest way to think of it for you. If you turn it on its side, it's a similar idea. It just looks more like an infinity sign, but it's all the same process. So there would be the middle of the infinity sign, the left side of the sign, back to the middle, and then you get the right side of the sign by poking the needle through. Whether you think of it step by step, or poke, make a ribbon, poke, make a ribbon, or make an 8 continuously, or make an infinity sign over and over, it's all the same steps. You just need to figure out what makes the most sense to you. Step by step, poke, make a ribbon, make an 8, or make an infinity sign. Whichever one you choose, it's the same process and will turn out looking the same way. As you can tell, this process gets very repetitive. You just need to figure out the easiest way for you to remember what to do. Step by step, just poke, cross, wrap, cross, and repeat. Or thinking of the ribbon, which is poke it through, make a ribbon shape, poke it through, make a ribbon shape, poke it through. There's half the ribbon, top of the ribbon, the other half. Or think the number 8. There'd be a bottom of the 8. And then keep making that figure 8 pattern. There's the middle, the top, middle of the 8. Or you can think an infinity sign, which is just an 8 turned sideways. Either way, it's the same sort of motion where you go to the bottom, the middle, the top. Just keeps going in that figure 8 motion around and around, or infinity sign if it's turned sideways. So now that you've figured out the pattern to doing this, there are a few small things that you might need to know and some things to keep in mind. First, you're not going to poke it through this middle opening forever. Once you get to a certain point, which I'll try to put a mark on yours, it's going to be about right there, then you'll start poking it somewhere else. It's important to remember you always attach your yarn to whatever layer is right below where you are working. I'm going to speed things up so that I can get to a point to show you exactly what I mean by that. You'll notice the bright pink yarn disappeared. That's because I have 2 baskets going at once, but it's the same process over and over. Let me get to a point that I can show you how to attach it to the layer below when it's not that same center opening you started with. Now it's getting far enough I can show you a few things more specifically, including how to poke it through and a tip to make it go faster. If you have some white showing through, like I do, in those few spots, there will be a chance to get it covered up the farther we get on this basket. So here are a few things to remember. 1, now that you're farther, if you want the process to go a little faster, you can throw in an extra loop or 2 around the white core while you're weaving. Here's what that means. Do the normal process, but go around the white core 2 or 3 times instead of just the 1 time. Poke it through right below where you're weaving. So I went right below in that little crease below. If it gets wrapped around like that, just slide it back to where it needs to be. Pull it tight. Make sure your pieces are slid together nice and neatly. Go about the same process as before. You can just go a few extra times. Trim those pieces if they get in your way too. So, cross, wrap it around, but then wrap it an extra time, or an extra 2 times if you want. Cross back over, poke. It's the same process. That white core should be getting a lot shorter now. Hold tight, cross, wrap it around, wrap it an extra time, cross, poke right below where you're weaving. Same process as before, we just did some extra wraps. Now let's speed things up to get to the end of this so I can show you how to finish your basket or coaster. Yay, you're almost finished. Now that you're almost at the end, you have the choice to add more core, which you simply tape on another piece and weave right over top of the tape, or you can be finished with the required length you were given in class. If it's getting a little fluffy like this, that's okay, just weave right over top of it. At this point, you should be doing just a single wrap around the white core or possibly a double wrap and pulling it very tight. All you need to do to finish it is continue in the same fashion, weaving it very tightly. If you feel like it needs to have a little extra security, you can put a little dot of hot glue every now and then. But if you're pulling it really tight as you go, you can manage without the glue. The glue can get a little messy and obviously hot, so be careful on your fingertips. When you're almost to the end, if there's a little bit of fluff, feel free to trim some of it off of the core, and then you can use some glue to cover up the white core if it bothers you seeing that white piece there. Your final steps are trying to cover up any white core you might still have showing, which is what I'm doing here. I'm just going over any white spots and covering it up with the needle and the yarn. Then trim any spots that you see, including your yarn that's still attached to it. And if you have any little bits still hanging off, trim it, and voila, a finished basket.